Hey everyone, we're here at the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown. The University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown here, UPJ, they own about 650 acres. They're one of the largest, if not the largest landowners in the area. I think Berwyn Coal Company still owns a bunch of land too and might be up there with them. But UPJ has their main campus with their dorms and academic buildings, but they also have this big nature area, the Rocky Run Nature Area. And it was actually designated a conservation area by the Audubon Society in 2019. So it's a pretty cool little nature area, almost like a preserve here right by the university that they can use for research and for education and just for the recreational benefits of the community. It's open to anyone to come out here and hike. There's about 8 miles of developed hiking trails and then a bunch of other just random paths through the woods here. And so we're gonna go check it out. I do want to mention as well that this area was kind of started in the 1960s, and you can see on the sign it's dedicated to Dr. Idzkowski, if I'm pronouncing that right, but he was a professor here in the 60s and was really instrumental in getting this area together and developing it as a hiking and research and nature study area. So excited to check it out. We're going to try and get down to an old farmhouse structure that's here and an old cemetery that's here on these trails. So let's check it out.
As I'm filming Ben here, I just wanted to go a little slow here. You can see some cool white asters. You can see them coming up. Beautiful fall hike. It was completely dry for like weeks, and now we have the first like real heavy rains that we've gotten. You can see how it's knocked a lot of the leaves off. You can see the cooler nights. They're doing a lot in here to the environment. You can see the New York ferns are already like dying back, and you can see a lot of the leaves have already fallen. A lot of leaves are changing color. So we've got the beech leaves turning yellow, a lot of different trees also turning yellow and with that burnt orange and even some red. If I look up at the canopy a little bit, you can't see too well just because of the sun, but you can see a lot of the beech trees are losing their leaves. So just a really scenic environment here. And that is the white wood aster. That's a common forest or woodland flower that you will see on your hikes, especially late summer into the fall like this.
I was a student here in 2003, and this was just a pass through the woods. And just in the last few years, they put in some trail markers like you can see here, and they put a map online you can find with the trail names, and all these junctions of trails are marked on the map, and a lot of the trails are blazed. Some of them are still not blazed according to what the map says, but a lot more developed than it was just a pass through the woods, actually making it something that recreational users can really enjoy and explore around in.
That's a giant eagle shopping cart.
Yeah, I'm not sure why there's a giant eagle shopping cart. I guess it reminds you this is a college campus we're on, and you never know what's going to happen on a college campus.
The dedication it took to bring that down here in the middle of the woods, like a woodland
we were
trail.
like super back in, but we're getting maybe a quarter of a mile in.
I can't imagine how difficult that was. Like,
if I remember correctly from my research, we should come across the remnants of an old dam down here that were built in the 60s. The professor Idzkowski, the one we were saying is kind of responsible for the development of this area, built the dam with some students to try and create a small pond so that they could do some research and some study back here. It's actually labeled on the trail map as a waterfall, and you can see how it would be a waterfall. It's dried up now this time of year, and like Aaron was saying, we've had a really dry summer. We've just gotten some rain recently, which is why it's kind of damp and wet out here. But in the spring and stuff, when we have a lot of water, there'd be a nice little waterfall and stream coming down through here. But it's just a cool little area. You're not too far off campus, the main part of campus, but it's fairly quiet and peaceful down in here, and if we were here in the spring with some water running, it would be super peaceful, cool place to chill and get away from campus if you're a student and want a little break from people. So we have some more water draining down this hillside here, down to the little stream at the bottom. There's actually a hurricane right now making its way inland to Florida that's maybe gonna push up here and give us some rain in the next couple of days as well. We definitely still need it as dry as our summer's been. And it's kind of interesting, the topography here, that we have the campus up above us that's sitting on a relatively flat area up top, but then on the backside of campus here, it just drops off into this ravine. And whether you come here, whether you go over the athletic fields or kind of over to my right here, and they're up on top again, but on the other side of them, it drops off like this too, and it comes into these ravines, and then all this water eventually drains down to the Little Paint Creek outside Wimber. So kind of cool features of the geography back here. And this is a great recreational area. Like UPJ is right on the edge of town. It's not like you have to go out far to get to UPJ. And then we're only about half a mile back the trail. But it's like super quiet and peaceful back here. We got this cool hillside to our left we can look up on, a nice ravine with a stream on our right. Just a really pretty area, and it feels like you're out there a good ways, and we're really not that far from the car and right in civilization. It's nice there's not tons and tons of undergrowth here. It's actually somewhat open that you can really see around and like take in the view here. Sometimes you get in the woods around here and it's so thick and stuff, you can see like a couple feet. You can't really appreciate the whole scope of the size of everything.
This is the first time I've really decided to go like 0.5 cam, almost like GoPro style, because there's just so much scenery. Beautiful time of the year for a hike, but like look at where we're at now. We're literally in basically a hemlock forest. They're all around us, and you wouldn't see this anywhere else close to UPJ. I mean, I know there's a couple spots, but this deep in the forest is just almost unheard of for around here. So it's really cool to see, because there's a lot of suburban neighborhoods. I mean, there's a few spots where I go, there's a lot of hemlocks, but that's more of the exception rather than the norm. So just a little bit of a change of the forest. We'll have to see if that brings out more mushrooms. I think a lot more mushrooms grow on, as you can see right there, they grow on conifers. So hemlocks should be a great, how do I want to put it? A great host for the fungi to grow on. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that as we're going. Another good spot for salamander activity. UPJ is well known and well established for that. I haven't seen any yet, but what a beautiful day for this. I'm dying from the humidity, but it's a great day to be out here. It's all seasons, right?
We've made it out to the old dam. This dam was built in the 1960s by UPJ students so that they could make a small pond in this area. Oh, you can see some real good old dam structure there, the old stone wall. And we'll actually have to walk up that way and check it out. I just noticed that as I started talking here. But they built it so that they could make a small pond here to do some research and stuff out here. We've made it out to the old dam. It's about a half-mile hike out from the trailhead, and you can see some of the old structure of the dam. This dam was built by students in the 1960s. Would have piled up these stones to block the water, make a little pond behind so that they could do some research on pond ecology. So from the very beginnings of the university, there were some pretty forward thinkers to think about how they could use this natural area that they have, all this land, to really do research and study and learn more about the environment. So pretty cool that it's still standing here from the 60s, and it would have been a pretty impressive structure, probably stretching the whole way across the ravine here to block off the water.
Just got more spring peepers calling in the background.
So we found the remnants of an old wall here. We'll walk around and see what else we can find, but this was the Baumgartner homestead. So they were some of the original colonists or homesteaders or whatever you want to call them that moved into this area. And it's kind of hard to believe Johnstown with all its industry, and you think steel mills and coal mining and stuff. At first it would have just been frontiersmen and homesteaders building these little farms and homesteads out here, and then eventually becomes cool land, and then it eventually becomes a university. So kind of crazy how things develop over the years and over the centuries. Got a pretty big stone wall here. Goes back in there pretty far. I can't even tell exactly how far. I don't really want to crawl through those briars. But it looks pretty old. The original homestead and farm that would have been here. We'll walk around, see if we can find anything else down in here. Got some meadows down here, and it looks like there's some trails. I don't know if it's deer going through or if they drove a vehicle back through in there. I don't really want to brave all the weeds to get down in there and see what's there. But it's a little more open down here. You can see it's real open that way. We found some old buildings. These are a little newer than the homestead buildings. All kinds of graffiti on them. Some pretty inappropriate graffiti on them. Not sure what these buildings were. Probably some kind of utility buildings at some point. You got old power lines here. Looks like there's a gas well or something over in there. I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but we have some old apple trees. Maybe an old orchard that was part of the Baumgartner farm that was back here. Got some nice ripe apples on it. This would probably be a good place if you were deer hunting. It's not really legal to hunt deer here, but if it were, it would be a good place. This nice open field with sight lines and then apple trees to draw the deer in. I'm sure the deer love it back here. We saw a couple on our way hiking in. You can see the backside here, that wall we looked at earlier. Give you a perspective. That was a house wall or foundation. Would have been a pretty good sized house for the time period that this would have been a farm. We also have some more walls and structure back here that we're heading back into. This would have probably been a pretty good place to have a farmstead. You got some flatter area now that we're at the end of the ravine here, and you have that stream coming down, it has some water in it now. Probably would have had a good bit of water in it throughout the year, and you could have built some wells and some cisterns and stuff to collect when it wasn't super rainy out. Kind of backtracked a little bit. Now we're heading out this side trail out to an old cemetery. It's a Baumgartner family cemetery for the family that had the homestead here.
Probably a hawk. Those are aphids. See them moving?
Yeah.
Wow, 0.5 lens catches them. That's wild.
It's crazy, there's no air moving here, so they're definitely not just blowing in the breeze. We've made it to the Baumgartner Cemetery. Let's go in and check it out. It's fairly overgrown, but the university did do a research study, some students did, and they found around 85 graves back in here. 14 of them are marked with more traditional, bigger markers like you see in front of us here, but most of them are just marked with little field stones, which was a simple, cheap, easy way to do it. You can kind of see one hiding back in the weeds back there. But somewhere in here there's 85, possibly more graves. Here we got one, Emma E., wife of Josiah Miller, died August 14, 1901. Kind of a sad one here. I'm not sure how well it's showing up on the camera, but it says mother and infant. And if the other side gives any more detail, if it did, it's been washed away. But pretty sad to think of a mom and her infant buried here. There's another one that's marked infant. We had a great hike today. Got to see a waterfall, well, with not much water in it, but still a cool ravine where the stream would go down through, an abandoned dam that we still had some of the structure to, an abandoned homestead building structure. We got to see some other more modern abandoned buildings with lots of graffiti on them. Not sure what they were about or for. And then we got to see an old cemetery, which was pretty neat. So lots of cool stuff just right here on the UPJ campus, on the UPJ hiking trails. Very calm and peaceful back in there, even though you're really not that far outside of civilization, but some nice trails to hike on, adventure on. It's good to be done and go cool off because it's super humid out here, but a great hike today.